I've been sitting on this review for a while, not because I didn't have enough to say, but because I wasn't ready to move on from this machine. But let me start with the bigger picture, because this review is really about something more than just a machine I happen to like. It's also about whether European espresso manufacturers still have an answer to what's coming out of Asia right now. And based on 5 months of daily use with the WPM Primus, I'm not so sure they do. So a review always feels a little bit definitive, like you have explored everything and you're then ready to move on to something else. And after 5 months with the Primus, I just wasn't ready to do that. I think it's because this machine actually fits the way I brew. I'm not adapting to it, it's fitting my workflow. And with many espresso machines, it's too often the other way around. So for most of 2024, my daily driver was the Lilith Mara X. It's an Italian heat exchanger machine, really an attempt to modernize the E61 platform. But living with it every day, a few things started to bother me, especially the heat up time. It was about 15 to 20 minutes every morning, and the workflow had this very specific sequence you had to follow. Heat up, pull shots in quick succession, otherwise the machine goes into an overheating cycle. And if you miss that window, then you have to wait again. With the Primus, the heat up time is just much faster. In my repeated testings, the machine is ready to go in around 4 minutes, plus minus 10 seconds. And if the machine has already been used earlier in the day, and you're coming back to it a couple of hours later, that drops to 1.5 minutes. The system retains enough heat that it barely needs to work to get back up to temperature. So that's really fast, and actually it's what I expect of an espresso machine here in 2026. One side note worth mentioning, during that 4-minute heat up, the portafilter isn't fully hot yet. It takes closer to 10 minutes before all the connected metal parts are completely up to temperature. However, I don't think that should detract from the heat up point though. Having a fully preheated portafilter might traditionally be seen as important for consistency, but there are actually barista competitors who deliberately cool their portafilter before a shot. So it's not a universal law that you have to have it heated. The reason the Primus heats up this fast comes down to how the system is designed. There's a boiler, reasonable size, but it gets up to temperature quite quickly. And then there's also a thermal block at the group head that fine-tunes the water temperature for your shot. And the temperature is super easy. You just control it from the interface here on the group head, like you would do if you were setting up an air condition or an air fryer. So easy, no pressing of weird buttons or entering hidden modes. Now, before we get deeper into the review, just a quick word on the brand. WPM, or Well Home Pro, is a Hong Kong-based company. In the West, they're probably best known for the milk pitchers, which have a big following in the ladder art community. But after reviewing the grinder, the ZP1, a while back, which had some of the best build quality I've seen across the probably, 50 to 100 grinders I've been testing, and now spending 5 months with the Primus, I think it's time to take this brand quite seriously and acknowledge that they know what they're doing. So I'm not exactly sure how this machine looks to you on a computer screen. It probably looks a little bit boxy, but in person it's quite striking. It's matte black, minimalist. The footprint is quite slim from certain angles, and overall the design language is just quite different from these metallic, huge steel machine that have come out of Italy for a while. So while it looks good and kind of modern, especially from the angle I'm looking at right now, I also have to admit that it's kind of tall and narrow in a way that looks a little bit unbalanced. So the main body does have a little bit of that energy of an old Windows PC, but then there's an external water reservoir that you can move around. I've actually put it out here out of frame because I was not really sure where the best place was to hide it. So now let's take a little look before I hide it back again. And while this is a first for me, I actually really like this external water reservoir because it means that the footprint can be a bit smaller than otherwise. And it's also very easy to see if you're running low on water. And it also makes it very accessible and easy to refill or even lift up the tank and move it over to your water dispenser. One more thing about first impressions: when you turn the machine on for the first time, it makes this kind of forceful steaming sound for a couple of seconds. You'll probably think something is wrong, but it isn't. It's just completely normal. But I just wanted to mention it because it caught me off guard the first couple of times it did it. Before we go deeper into the test results, I want to talk a little bit about the thing that actually kept this machine on my station for 5 months, and it's this one here. Flow profiling has always felt a bit academic to me, and there's something that often gets confused in these conversations, and that is on some E61 machines you do have flow control, but you're not directly controlling pressure. So pressure is kind of the side effect of controlling the flow. With the Primus, it's the other way around. The pump responds directly to what you do with the pedal. So you're controlling pressure and the pump reacts immediately. In that sense, it's very much like using a direct lever machine, something like the Flare 58 or Robot. It's extremely intuitive and the tactility of the pedal is really nice. It does have some resistance, so it doesn't feel flimsy, but it's also very easy to control. So it just brings that kind of like tactile enjoyment into brewing. At the same time, you can see the target pressure on the screen and the current pressure chasing it. So they are not perfectly in sync, which makes sense. It takes a moment for the pump to build or release pressure, but it's very easy to hit the profiles that you want. Another special thing about the Primus is that it has a gear pump, which is something that you don't often see at this price point. Most home machines use a vibratory pump, and that's why it has this kind of a loud, familiar buzzing noise when you're pulling a shot. Higher end machines tend to use rotary pumps, but the gear pumps, while technically rotary pumps, they kind of sit in their own category, and usually they're reserved for commercial/luxury machines with pedal control like this one here. That being said, you can control the machines in other ways besides just the pedal. So there's a semi-automatic mode inside the display, and it's actually more interesting than it sounds. You set it up for different pressure stages and then tap the screen to move between them manually. And where this gets useful is when you're using a naked portafilter, you can actually see what's happening underneath the basket. And then you can watch when the puck is fully saturated and then tap to jump to your next extraction phase. And then you can tap again as you approach your target yield. So it's a nice middle ground between full manual control and automation. The automatic modes, as the name indicates, is automatic. So you just set up the profile in several different stages that you want, and then you don't need to touch anything. And this works quite well if you're using a hopper-based grinder and you're kind of like dialed into one bean. But if you're single dosing and switching between a lot of different coffees, like I often am, then these automatic profiles, they can work a little bit against you. So some shots might choke, others might run too fast, and the machine has no way of knowing it. It just follows the profile regardless of what actually happens in the basket. And it's a little bit the same with the built-in profiles. They seem quite cool at first. So let's say you're running a lever profile, and either your grind is too fine or too coarse, then you're not really going to benefit from these different stages. So you need to be dialed in perfectly for this to make sense. And this is actually where Bluetooth scale would be really cool and could make a difference. If the machine could talk to a scale and know your yield in real time, these profiles could be built around weight rather than just time and pressure. Now let's talk temperature. I don't have a SCASE device, and WPM's proprietary portafilter size makes fitting one very difficult anyway. What I did instead was use the constant pressure mode to dispense water for a fixed 10 seconds into identical lightweight plastic cupping bowl. So no coffee in the portafilter, just water running through, and then measure the temperature of the output each time. So this isn't measuring whether the machine hits exactly 98 degrees as I had set it to. That would require different equipment that I don't have. But what it does give us is a roundabout way to understand how consistent the output actually is. Does it do the same thing every single time? So I pulled 10 shots at 98 degrees and logged the temperature of each one. So if you don't pay attention to the first shot where the portafilter is still getting up to temperature, what you see is the readings landing in a pretty narrow window, pretty much again and again. Of course, there is some variation between shots, but it could also just be me because my between shot protocol wasn't perfectly controlled, which means the portafilter could lose a little bit more heat to the environment before the next pull. and that shows up in the numbers. But even accounting for that, the consistency is quite solid. The volumetric data tells a similar story across those same 10 shots. Output generally came in between 60 and 62 milliliters every time, with some small outliers. Next up, I tried to do the same thing at 90 degrees to test that consistency again, but also to see if there was that temperature drop that you would expect. And again, here, don't look at the first shot, but the remaining readings all land within about a 2-degree range. So kind of the same story, quite consistent output shot after shot. And the temperature also drops meaningfully compared to the 98 degrees before. Maybe one could expect it to drop a little bit more. I can't really tell because this is an imperfect test that doesn't really show what happens at the puck during brewing. It just measures consistency. Now, here's where it gets interesting for me personally. So last year I reviewed the Lilith Mara X, and if you pull more than 2 shots back to back on that machine, it starts climbing into an overheating cycle, and temperatures quite quickly creep up past 100 degrees, and then you have to wait for the machine to settle back down to normal temperatures again before you can pull another proper shot. So what you're looking at here is 10 shots pulled in quite rapid succession, then a break of maybe 10 minutes between while I was going through the data, and then 10 more shots. And you have no climbing temperatures and not really any recovery issues, just the same narrow window over and over again. So for a home machine at this price point, that is getting close to what I would consider commercial grade performance. Steam performance is something Italian machines have traditionally done well. I'm not a big milk drinker myself, but I know this is important for many people, and I'm happy to report that the results here are also quite solid. So I ran 3 rounds of steaming, 130 milliliters of oat milk up to 65 degrees, and I tried 3 different steam power settings, so you can adjust the steam power easily in here on the display. So first I ran it at level 1, level 4, and level 7, which is the maximum. And then I plugged in a thermocouple so you can see the actual heat curves on the screen while I talk you through this. So at level 1, it took around 30 seconds. At level 4, it took around 25 seconds. And at level 7, so the maximum power, it was just 1 or 2 seconds faster than level 4. So the time difference between medium and maximum power is almost non-existent. But here's where it gets interesting. I also weighed the liquid added to the milk from the steam at each setting. At level 1, you get 13 grams of water added. At level 4, that goes up to 16.8. And at level 7, it jumps up to 23.7 grams. So maximum power is adding almost twice as much water to your milk as level 1. And you're barely saving any time. So for most people, level 1 is probably the sweet spot. You get fast steaming, and it's also a reasonably dry output, and you're not diluting your milk too much. If you're steaming large volumes of milk for multiple drinks at once, maybe level 7 makes more sense. Oh, and in case you wondered, no, the oat milk didn't get wasted. It went into a delicious bowl of overnight oats, and you can see my recipe here. Nothing too fancy, but very tasty. Now, of course, there are a few downsides to the primers, like with all machines. The portafilter is probably one of them. It uses a kind of proprietary lock design, so it's a little bit tricky to find a bottomless portafilter that fits perfectly. I tried my Flair 58 portafilter, which was actually okay, but once in a while you got a bit of leaking. Then I bought a portafilter off AliExpress, which stated that it was supposed to work with the primers, and it was better still, but still not perfect, so sometimes leaking a little bit. And it's because the primers has these special locks here. The distance from the portafilter down to the drip tray is also on the kind of like longer side. It's especially noticeable if you're using a bottomless portafilter. A small platform under the scale really helps narrowing that gap. But even with the spouted portafilter like here, the drop feels so large that I'm not really confident I can hit 2 small separate cups if I'm using like traditional Italian cups. And as I mentioned before, there's no Bluetooth scale integration, so you can't set the machine to stop at a target weight. You have to manage yield yourself, which honestly suits the pedal workflow totally fine. But if you were hoping for that next level of automation, it's not here yet. And even though the machine can be upgraded with new firmware, my guess is that you would also need some additional hardware component to be able to talk with the scale. And then the user interface, I think it's quite intuitive overall. I actually think well executed. but there are just a few icons that look similar enough that I mixed them up. So the pre-infusion and the water outlet mode, they can look quite alike at first glance, but that's just nitpicking. Looking inside the machine is very interesting. I opened it up about 5 hours after my last brewing session, and when I put my hand underneath the boiler, I could still feel heat coming off of it. So after 5 hours, that's pretty good. And it shows that the insulation on this thing is seriously good. It's quite thick, it's well fitted, so clearly not an afterthought. And then when you look at the internals more broadly, it's a strange and pretty impressive combination. So one side of the machine looks like a traditional espresso machine, and then the other side looks like something out of some kind of electronics lab. One thing I will say though is that after 5 months of daily use, everything inside still looks completely pristine, still well organized, and there's not any evidence of wear and tear, so there's no residue, and nothing that would give me any concern. I'll be completely honest though, if something did go wrong with this machine, I would have absolutely no idea where to start. And that's not necessarily a criticism, neither of the machine or of my technical skills. It's kind of the same with most modern appliances, I think, for most people. And let's be frank, when I had a problem with my Lilith Mara X last year, of course there is a lot of guidance online on how to DIY fix different problems. But I was on a wild goose hunt, spending several afternoons, if not whole days, where I could have done interesting stuff with my life. So I know there are some people out there who really like to glamorize fixing espresso machines, but to be honest, I would just rather pay a technician to do it. But overall, I will say I have a quite good feeling both about the brand and the longevity, and that's because the brand WPM, when you start to investigate a little bit, you realize they're also associated with OEM manufacturing from some quite well-known Western brands. One brand that is very often mentioned is the Niche Zero. You don't have to dig very far to see that connection. I actually did ask WPM about it when I did my last review, and their response was that they didn't want to comment on it. So not really any denial. So to wrap it up, here's what 5 months with this machine has actually taught me. And that is that the idea that more steel and more thermal mass actually means better espresso, I don't really think that holds anymore. The Primus heats up in 4 minutes, it produces consistent output shot after shot, and it delivers a more fun and engaging brewing experience than machines that are both much more expensive and much more heavy. If you're in the market for a new espresso machine, right now you have a lot of options. And I think if you're looking for the best compromise between design, form factor, and those quality of life things such as heat up time, then the Primus is a quite strong answer to that question. For example, you have the Sanremo U, which is probably 3 to 4 times more expensive. Then there's the commercial machine La Marzocco Strada. It also has a very nice pedal, but it costs almost the same as a car. So it's not that the Italians can't make cool machines with pedals and interesting controls. They absolutely can do that, but I've not seen anyone do it at the price point of a Lilith Mara X. But of course, what that price actually is will also depend heavily on where you are in the world and what import taxes look like. If you're buying in Hong Kong or many places in Asia, you're looking at around $1,500 for this machine. In those markets, the comparable Italian machines are going to cost way more. There are, of course, a lot of trade agreements being rewritten right now as we speak. So honestly, I don't know how competitive the Primus will be in the US and in Europe by the time you're watching this. I'm sure something like the Decent will probably still be the platform of choice if you have almost like an academic interest in espresso. But if you just want really good shots every day and almost get like 90% of that performance, then I think you have a good option here. And by the way, the Decent is also made in Hong Kong, so it just goes to show that there are a lot of quality products coming out of this region right now. So I think the Italians need to move quite fast if they don't want to get overtaken. The E61 doesn't quite cut it anymore when you can have something like this. And in case you're wondering why I think that, then check out this video right here. So meanwhile, I'll just hang out with this one. Not sure I'm ready to say goodbye just yet.